IWBD Courage Talks, how to get your next board senior executive role, which is not even posted, session. And let me kickstart as we wait a few more community members. As you know, at IWBD, we continue to discuss one important reality. Many of the most impactful leadership and board opportunities begin long before a role is publicly visible. They start through reputation, visibility, trust conversations, strategic relationships, executive presence, and how leaders communicate their value over time. That's exactly why communities and meaningful networks matter. And this is why IWBD exists, to grow the number of women in the boardroom through executive level conversations, strategic visibility, global networking, and leadership development. Today, we are delighted to have with us two exceptional leaders from Wilton & Bain, one of the world's leading executive search firms, working closely with organizations on senior executive hiring and board level leadership globally. A warm welcome to Sami Zuhaid, MENA Managing Director, and Burcu Karabağ, MENA Principal at Wilton & Bain. Thank you both for joining us today.
Thanks, Ebru, for having us.
Thank you, Ebru, again.
Amazing. Thank you again for joining us today. I know both of you have incredibly busy calendars and constantly working closely with CEOs, board members, and senior leadership teams across industries. So thank you very much for making the time and the commitment to be with us today and supporting the IWBD community along this journey. And before we begin, a quick note to our IWBD community. Our special membership campaign is active until the end of June. If an existing member brings another senior leader on board at IWBD, their next year membership becomes complimentary. Because I genuinely believe good people know good people. And if you would like to see strong profiles, meaningful conversations, and continue growing this platform together, bring them on board. As I said, campaign is active until the end of June. Now, let's begin. I see the click sound, so let me see if anyone is waiting. Here we have Ina. Hi, Ina, welcome. We just started. So I would like to ask Sami and Burcu, both of you are every day in conversations with multiple CEOs, board members, investors, and senior executives. You understand organizations where they want to grow, what capabilities they are searching for, and where leadership gaps exist before the market even sees them. So let me start with this. From your experience, when do senior executive or board hiring discussions actually begin behind the scenes? And what should leaders understand better about how these decisions evolve? Sami, would you like to start?
Thank you, Ebru. I think that's a really interesting question. You know, it can vary from organization to organization, but you know, I think the intention of hiring someone or changing a leader or building out a leadership team in a new market often happens in the board and often happens before HR are involved. So the real decisions are made. What we see is either at a board level, if it's a family group, family level, or sometimes if it's at a multinational, it's outside the region. So, you know, there is kind of a hidden market at the same time where a lot of senior hires don't get opened up to the market. Some of them are given to us and, you know, they're confidential for different reasons. So we don't advertise those roles. And then within those organizations, there are very few people that know about the hiring process that's going on. You know, and often the individual is still in the organization or they've just left. So I guess my answer to your question is it happens at a very high level and it happens quite discreetly. And our role as a search firm is to maintain connectivity and relationships within the board, within the leadership team, to ensure that when decisions are made or when they're thinking about a decision, before the decision is made, we're already in that room having that conversation. Because by the time it's made public or they announce it, or if by chance they advertise it, they're quite far along the road in terms of the hiring process. So it's a very good question to start with, Ebru, and it's something that happens a lot before anything is announced, and especially at a senior or board level.
Thank you, Sami. Burcu, what's your perspective?
I agree with everything Sami said. My addition would be following up what is going on in the world and the region in terms of business to anticipate the coming executive level needs. For example, to make it solid, very recent example, for example, Emirates Airlines right now, we all know that there was a disruption, right, in the flights and stuff. So this is why they had to take, they had to do crisis management, and they had to slow down. But now they're getting back on track. Now we can read it as that, like if you read it from the perspective I mentioned, the organization needs leaders who could manage uncertainty, preserve operational continuity, and lead large organizations through crisis environments. So we can see that this kind of hiring would be coming. This is a guess from reading the news, not just like news, but kind of also observing from the what's in it for me perspective, or how can I contribute this perspective. Another example, Aramco. Aramco recently accelerated Vision 2030 ambitions. The priorities expanded beyond traditional oil operations, now into downstream investments, sustainability, technology, etc. So we can read it as that now they need capable leaders operating globally, managing complex stakeholder ecosystems. Another example, right now, telecoms are going beyond. There is the saying phrase from telco to techco, so companies, this means telco companies need transformational leaders or more technology leaders. So if you start to read the news or follow up business from that perspective, then you will have a guide on where to start with or who to approach. I can say a lot about this, but not to take a lot of time, I think I made my point.
Well, this is so eye-opening, Burcu. So recently there was this news that UAE government is investing on agentic AI. So again, now that I see this news in a different lens.
Yes, exactly. AI, definitely same. For example, what are the current AI capabilities needed in the market? Do I have them? I know a lot of leaders are taking courses right now on AI to develop themselves to match their potential needs, which makes a lot of sense. I agree.
I think this is a very important point, Sami and Burcu, because many leaders still believe opportunities begin once a job is posted publicly. But in reality, and sometimes it's not even publicly listed, as Sami well said. But in reality, some leaders are already known, already trusted, already being discussed before a formal process even starts. So building on that conversation, what makes certain leaders consistently visible and top of mind opportunities, while others with some capabilities remain less visible? What creates that difference?
Just one more thing on your point, Ebru, that you just said. We get approached sometimes by data companies to provide data on searches that we're running or placements that we've made, and we reject flat out to give them any data, because when we sign our contracts with our clients, there's a massive confidentiality clause, and they don't want the market to know when they started it, who they used, how they did it. So, from that point of view, there's very little visibility in terms of data. So just to add to that, but to your point about what makes a name come up and why, I think for me, the things that I see that makes names sort of surface is people that are proactively sort of in touch with their peers, respected by their peers, because often beyond our methodology and our process and our mapping and our research and all the sort of heavy lifting that goes on at the beginning of a search, when we've been awarded a mandate, we often reach out to respected executives within that field who are maybe buyers of that service, who are peers of that individual, but we know they're happy in their role. And sometimes in certain roles, you know, we hear names that come up again. So, you know, I think that's a very important aspect. Obviously, building relationships with firms like ourselves, you know, not just being there, you know, often when you need something from us, but actually building an authentic relationship with us. So, you know, whether, you know, because candidates become clients, clients become candidates at an executive level all the time. And some of our best clients had a candidate experience with us. They didn't get the role, but they saw how we managed them, he or she, after the role had finished, and kind of mentored them in a way, sort of, you know, unofficially to sort of move out and explore something else. So that relationship with search firms is very important. And then I think finally for me, from a visibility point of view, is obviously, you know, joining committees like yours, Ebru, industry bodies, advisory boards, that can create some kind of, you know, I guess cross-sector visibility with your peers. You know, and it's no good just being known for something well within an organization, but then when you come out of that organization, you're invisible to the market. It's quite limiting and narrow. So I guess that's what I'd say on that particular point.
That's brilliantly stated, Sami, because right now so many organizations are going through transformation, and some people, after being, you know, working in one company, when they're out, they feel like, okay, what's next for me? So it's super important to build that connections, relations at the job, and build that narrative while you are in the role. Burcu, what's your perspective?
My perspective is very similar. I will just build on this. I will say, okay, it's good to be loyal to a company you're working for. But if you start associating yourself with that company only, when you think of yourself and your talent, only your company comes to your mind, it means maybe you kind of lost your own essence, because the company hired you at first for what you are, who you are, right? So the people who can separate these two, they always make sure to be known and remembered. So they're both important. You can be known, but you should also be remembered to come across when there's an executive search process or when there's a position in need. So this is why it's important to build your own brand, not only base your own company or company's values, like what, because after a certain period of time and experience, especially at the executive level, this is what we look for. Because when we approach you, we approach you or the candidates for a new company. So it should also feel like this person has their own set of values, branding, style, management, that they can apply to the new company and bring in a new breath, right? So fresh breath. So this is why I think it's important to be visible from that perspective, is to stay top of mind.
Brilliant. And when organizations make these decisions, they are clearly evaluating much more than technical capability alone. You just mentioned the branding, personal branding part. And at board and senior executive level, one leadership decision can impact culture, growth, transformation, investor trust, employee morale, everything. So from your perspective, this time, Burcu, let's start from you. What makes the cost of a wrong executive hire so significant at this level? And what are organizations really evaluating when selecting senior leaders?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, because this is, we sometimes feel like this is underestimated, you know, in the modern world. So there's a cost, there's literally a calculation of the cost of a wrong hire. I don't remember, but we used to do that, and we used to even kind of make the calculation based on the business, the target, etc. So, but beyond that, sometimes companies are in a rush to fill a role, to fill a position. And when they only, fill that position and hire someone for the role without walking the extra mile, without making that person go through not only technical assessments but culture fit, very important, and personal capabilities and personal style, communication style, everything, reference checks, discrete reference checks. There's a lot of boxes to be ticked, and when they miss any of that, then usually a company starts, a person is not a good fit in 2 to 3 months. I know we had that probation period for 3 months, but this is why they're extending sometimes to 6 months in the region. Maybe you're also familiar. And then they have to take the decision. They need to give the warning. So they already lose 6 months easily, right? And especially if it's an executive level, and especially, unfortunately, if this is a cultural non-fit situation, the harm is beyond 6 months. So this is why, and then they understand, and they usually, like we heard this quite a few times, they tell us, and with Sami, we had a recent example, Sami. One of our clients came to us for a position, and they hired, an executive themselves. And exactly after 3 months, they understood that it's not the right fit. Now they came to us and they said, we want to do that business with that hiring with you. So the problem on their side was, just to give you an example, that person was coming from a very strong technology company, which looks very assuring. However, the organization is not at that level yet. So that person has the perfect capabilities. True, if we assess that person, I think probably she's or he's great. But does the organization need that kind of capabilities? It's like wearing a great jacket, but larger than your size, right?
I like this example, Burcu, and spending so much time with you last year during the committees, I know how hardly you put your energy and your, thinking on this, synergy match. Let's put it this way, and it is super important. Burcu, you just, explained the cultural, the company perspective. Sami, as some, we have our guests today. For them, what would be your recommendation on this this challenge to find the right fit? Because it's also a cost factor on the candidate side, like, because you put all your hopes, your future, your expectations with a company, but then you suddenly figure out that it's not what you expected for. So what is the tactics or the strategies a leader should follow on this? First, of course, work with the right partner.
Yeah, I think I always say to friends and colleagues and people that I know that are in a transition, for whatever reason have left a role or are thinking of leaving a role at an executive level, that they should see their next journey and this kind of conduit to get them to the next journey as a project in itself, and it has to be managed quite diligently. So I think they need to look at different layers. So who do they know in the professional services world? Not just search firms, lawyers, accountants. Who are the people that advise CEOs, board members, people that make decisions, hiring executives, hiring boards, and build your circle, genuine circle around the professional services, management consultants that are doing huge transformation projects, whether it's a Mercer or BCG or a McKinsey, because they don't always come to search firms. So, sometimes they don't have the luxury of time or they just get referred someone, that role needs to be filled. So I think that's one aspect in terms of the sort of professional services whole ecosystem and building your network within that, because again, it's valuable over time for different reasons and different scenarios that you might need people when you're in a role, when you're looking, when you're seeking some advice, and so that's one layer that I would say. And then secondly is make yourself as visible as possible, attend as many events as conferences, push yourself outside of your comfort zone to connect with people that you wouldn't usually connect with, attend these events, attend conferences, either there's some quite intimate stuff that goes on at the Arts Club, that goes on at Capital Club, although I think Capital Club's a bit stuffy, but anyways, that's another conversation. But sort of having those type of intimate events, getting invited to those, meeting the right people. So beyond your presence online and sort of, LinkedIn and things like that, I think it's those real connections that sometimes gets missed because we are in the world of AI, we are in the world of social media, everything's online, everyone has this persona they're chasing socially, technologically for everyone to see, but it's actually where you live, where you are, the real relationships, the real connections that you make on the ground in the city that you live in the region that you live in, that I think matter beyond a search process or being approached by a search firm.
Yeah, so true. That human connection is super, important, especially in the Middle East, because at the end of the day, people would like to work with people they like and they trust. This is so relevant for our
Very
work.
true. Well said. Very true.
And finally, many leaders globally are currently navigating transformation, restructuring, career transitions, entrepreneurship, portfolio careers, or simply preparing for their next chapter. There is a lot happening in the market right now. So what practical recommendations would you give leaders today to strengthen that visibility? I know, Sam, you just touched base on it, their executive positioning and readiness for future board or senior leadership opportunities. Burcu, let's start from you.
I think, it's very similar to what Sami said. Meeting with people is very important, and also having the purpose in mind. So meeting with people, listening to their stories, and get inspired by them, because, everyone has their own challenges, own career stories. So we are, I don't know, maybe 20 people here, but I'm sure if we all started telling about our own career journeys, each of us would be inspired in a way. There is something in it for everyone, I think. So this is why, and maybe you will catch this 4-minute mile, which is, so I love this example. In 1954, the first person ran this 4-minute mile marathon. It wasn't achieved before that. And after that achievement, 1954, you can check, 1,700 people completed it. So what happened? So at first, people didn't think that it's possible, but one person did, and the others were like, I can do that too. So it's good to find your own inspiration, in that discussion, and maybe you can build on this. And then the more you create and learn and you build on it, so it's not about only a one-time thing. It should be a lifelong purpose. It's not like, look, I'm looking for a job. It's 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. No, as long as you work, if you have that kind of branding and purpose embedded in your day-to-day, then it will never be looking for a job for you. Like there will be opportunities that you're evaluating.
You will be attracting.
Exactly. That's my point.
Sami?
I think just to add to Burcu, just a couple of things. One is, don't just look for roles, map the market. Know what organizations are doing. For example, when companies are an inflection point, where is your profile relevant? And then on the back of that, I always like to ask executives, like, what is the one problem that you solve better than anyone else at your level, within your craft, within your function? One sentence. What is it? How do you do it? And, if you don't know that, then how are other people in your network that are referring you know how to position you? And I think that's really important. And then I think finally is treat your career very carefully, almost as if it's a portfolio for yourself. manage it actively, build relationships, define who you are, what you solve. And I really, encourage people to think strategically about their career, whether they're in a role, whether they're in transition, whatever it may be. And I think the more you have that intention to think strategically about your career, the more your actions will then look like the intention you have and take you into rooms and build relationships with people and organizations that you never even thought of before.
Well, super well said, Sami. Many people think that, when you are very good at your job and you are delivering super well, you will be eligible to the next role or an opportunities outside. But what you both mentioned is your experience alone does not automatically create that visibility. So people remember leaders through clarity of positioning, consistency, reputation, your energy, your communication, and the value you bring to the table over time. So this is extensively what we work at GVGL and IWBD through our personal branding and executive presence programs. We have delivered these programs globally for organizations like P&G, LinkedIn, Snap, TikTok, and many others through one-to-one executive coaching, small leadership cohorts, and corporate leadership trainings. One of the most powerful questions we ask leaders is, how do you want to be known in life? So your job title is not your personal brand statement. Let's accept that. Your personal brand is what actually people associate your name when you are not in the room. If people consistently mention your name for a specific capability, leadership style, expertise, or impact area, that means you are building strong positioning intentionally. To become known for what genuinely drives your passion and purpose is incredibly important, especially during moments of career transition and growth. And I know some of you are going through that. And through these programs, we help leaders define their own personal brand statement, communication style, and action plan. So they consistently become known for the areas they are passionate about and naturally attract opportunities aligned with that positioning. So let me know if you have any inquiries on building personal branding and executive visibility or positioning yourself more intentionally for future opportunities. Brilliant. Now let's open the floor for a few questions. We would be happy to have your thoughts and reflections from today's discussion. And Sami, Burcu, and I are happy to take your questions. Yes, Radhika.
Great. First of all, thank you for a very, very insightful conversation and discussion. A lot of it sounds like we should know it, but just putting it in a structured manner. And I loved how you talked also about being diligent about transitions as a project on its own. So all of that resonated. I have a question, and to some extent, IWBD already addresses it, but I just want to go a level deeper. And it's about those that are navigating transitions, and especially I'll put in there people that have been in the same organization for a long time. We can get lazy about what we stand for, because a lot of people around us have witnessed what we can deliver. So there is knowledge within the organization on where you fit well, what your strengths are, and what your developmental aspirations might be. When navigating externally, and especially as you start to develop new contacts in a much, much broader network, as you're exploring other kinds of roles, how do you transition that credibility about what you bring to the table in meaningful terms to what I would call a new audience that hasn't seen you perform? And I do think some of your personal branding piece kind of plays into that, but just wondering if there's more that one can do very practically in that space.
I can answer that, but I don't know if you are whom you are addressing it. Would you, Sami?
I think that's a question for you, Ebru.
Well, I transitioned from 12 years Accenture. It's a long journey, and it wasn't, easy to jump to the new, water. So one thing really helped me was to build my close circle on the job. So when I was out, I wasn't alone. And during those times, I was very active in business associations. I'm coming from marketing, So I was very active in Marketing Society. I hosted them. I helped them to grow. So I was part of their journey. And as of today, I'm sitting in their board, and all the members are my target audience. So it organically grew. Also for IWBD, before I left Accenture, I was already active and, bringing key people together. And on March 8th, after I left Accenture at the end of February, I deliberately launched GVGL on March 8th because I totally believe in this feminine power. So I organized this lunch with very influential 10 women. So we had a lovely lunch at Atlantis Royal, and that table was super powerful, super important for me because half of them became my clients. So building that connections, and you are still not late. You can still continue building on that. But I always knew I was beyond and above my title at Accenture. That's why, building your personal branding, super important. When I was at Accenture, I was very passionate about growing women leaders. I was writing about it, doing projects about that. Many organizations, in fact, we were together at HBA and helped HBA to be established in the region, Healthcare Business Women Association. So when you do something purposefully, intentionally, and passionately, it comes back.
That's great. Totally resonates, Ebru. Thank you for sharing your journey.
Thank you. And I see Anne. You have a question?
Question and actually just an observation. So first and foremost, thank you everyone for all the great conversation and contributions. Super, super interesting. But no, I just wanted to do a bit of a build, actually. I think we're in a super unique time, and to see a positive out of all of this, it's almost like your personal network, for me anyway, is almost at the moment, we're kind of trying to think of what opportunities. I work for Alshire. We have a portfolio of wonderful brands, but also malls and footfall has suffered, certainly here in the UAE. So yes, executive presence, connections, your personal network, but it's also kind of walking the walk, not just talking the talk. So, it's also kind of going out there, reaching out, seeing what collaborations you can do with other brands that drive the customers in. And then equally, then people get kind of a feel for how you work, how you kind of interact, and kind of that actually demonstrates those skill sets rather than you just saying, I have got X, Y, and Z. So actually, as a positive out of this situation, I feel we could be actually poised in quite a unique part to demonstrate that, which we might not have had the opportunity to do before. So I just wanted to give that build.
Yeah, I'm super grateful of the Alo collaboration that we did. And again, Alo is all about building that community and that, experience. I know some of you were there. So again, intentionally building that community thinking, super, influential. Also, when you're at the job, making that collaboration possible beyond your, job or title. Don't think this as an extra layer. For example, today I was with Paranak. We discussed our future collaborations, what we can, do furthermore. And she will be hosting us on June 12th. And we discuss further on the upcoming sessions, what else we can do. So I was also like, when I was at Accenture, this is actually about what you can control in your mandate, what you can leverage. So during my time, I collaborated with Marketing Society. I leveraged our innovation hub a couple of times for their events. Of course, now I'm, receiving all these good intentions back. Paranak.
Yeah, thanks for highlighting that, because I think I've mentioned it a couple of times. What is unique about IWBD is really the connection and the genuine connection. And Sami touched based on that and joked a bit about the Capital Club. For me in Dubai, it was very hard to find genuine connection points where you can have conversations without people selling to you. So I'm very proud that we have built this community and that we come together. So thank you for organizing all of this, also in a very, very tough situation. But yeah, a question I would have for Sami and Burcu is, for people that don't have time, and we are part of IWBD, and your personal brand is there, you're part of communities, but still you're not aware of the opportunities because I am not good at the extra networking that you mentioned. So I'm very deliberate about the time I spend into networking. Where would be your top things that you would say, you said conferences, but I mean, you can't just go to any conference, and I'm already in the tech industry. So maybe a bit of guidance on, if you had time constraints, where would you start?
Brigitte, do you want to go or shall I go?
Please go ahead, Sami. I can go.
Yeah, that's a good point, Farnak. And I think personally, I believe is to, again, build more authentic connections, both inside your wider organization and outside. People that are sort of at, with all respect to people at all levels and organizations, but people that are at your level, people that are above your level, specifically people that you can add value to them, maybe not immediately, but in the future, and vice versa. And people that you're drawn to within your sort of business circles, within your, mentoring is a good thing. Find someone that, from a mentoring point of view, so we've introduced a couple of our clients to sort of global CHROs that we know that run global teams, and they're trying to break through from a country level to a regional level, and they want an hour, a quarter, or a couple of hours with that person to understand what their landscape is like and what they're dealing with. So I think building that connectivity with your peers across different organizations, maybe competitor organizations, which doesn't get done as often in our region, then maybe it gets done in other regions. And there's a lot of secrecy in our region for different reasons. But looking across your competitors, and who do you respect there, and who have you heard good things about that you want to reach out to and have a coffee with and build a relationship with. And often it's about just taking that first step, but kind of following your gut and following your intuition around, okay, I'd like to connect with that person. I like how they write. I like what they've said. I'm impressed by what they do. And sometimes you find, the most unlikely sort of connections that you make, however they turn out, are quite spontaneous as well.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Considering the time, I just want to say thank you again, Sami and Burcu, for sharing such valuable insights with our IWBD community today. And we remain committed to creating stronger pathways for women leaders into boardrooms and senior executive leadership globally. Through community visibility, partnership, and courageous conversations, we continue growing meaningful opportunities together. And before I close, a few upcoming IWBD gatherings and sessions to keep on your radar. June 12th, IWBD Industry Committee's 2026 cohort launch at Google Dubai Innovation Hub. And thank you, Farnak, once again for hosting us. June 19th, IWBD and Microsoft session in Paris. We will announce it shortly. During Cannes Lions, place at the end of June, we will host a private IWBD gathering. Partner announcement coming soon. We are also preparing upcoming sessions with Santen Pharma in Switzerland and with Google in Europe. We just cooked today, most probably in Madrid, so stay tuned. And finally, our annual IWBD Summit will most likely take place in October. We are currently watching the space carefully and will announce the details in the coming weeks. I will also address questions around the industry committees in more detail during the June 12th launch gathering. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and keep shining to build meaningful impact together.
Thank you, Ebru.
Thanks, Ebru. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.